Hi, everyone. It's Sarah No Support Workers. Today, I'm a little bit excited about this one because you've actually been on my dream list of people to podcast with. I've actually got Peter from HireUp, the CEO.
Hi, Sarah.
Congratulations.
Hi, everyone. Thank you.
It was just really cool to have you on because you're quite a big provider across Australia and you provide a lot of services to NDIS and aged care participants, but also have a lot of support workers. So today's episode is a little bit exciting. So, do you want to get straight into it?
Let's do it.
All
Love
right.
it.
Okay. So you didn't just start at a CEO. Let's just take it back a little bit. What originally got you to hire?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I've been at HireUp for about 6 years, including the COVID time warp. Yeah, about 6, 7 years ago, I was in management consulting. So I was working with governments and non-profit providers and a lot around the NDIS, including at the NDIA. So that was really, there was so much energy and excitement. I mean, there still is, but in 2018, 2017, 2018, 2019, there was so much energy and excitement around the NDIS. And also around that time, a cousin of mine really unfortunately had a spinal cord injury, quite a spinal cord injury. He jumped into a river and fractured his vertebrae in a number of places. And so became an NDIS participant. And it was really that personal experience of seeing his journey through hospitalization and rehab, then he moved into residential aged care as a 40 in his 40s, which was really challenging. But just kind of understanding how the NDIS was working and not working with him, and then seeing the NDIA, and I just thought this is something I want to be involved with. That was where it started with me. I was like, I want to work for a disability provider. And I was looking around and I met the folks at HireUp, and we could talk more about that, but I met the folks at HireUp and the energy and the purpose and the passion and also the commercial, it's a for-profit business as well as being a for-purpose business. It was just all the mix of those things and just going to the office and seeing the people. It just felt, this is a spot for me. And then it's kind of gone from there.
So you worked in consultancy and public policy. What
Mm.
did those years when you were working, what did they teach you that has shaped you into the leader that you are today?
I think a couple of things. When you're in those roles and you're doing project by project, so it was like there were 6-8 week projects, and you'd do something. I worked at Services Australia like Centrelink. I worked at the NDIA. I worked for a number of nonprofits. You get to experience lots of different organizations quite quickly, like not deeply, you don't deeply, but you just get to see different cultures and different ways of working. And so it was a nice exposure to lots of different cultures and gave me a sense of like, what was the kind of place that I wanted to work with. And now I have an opportunity to shape culture. And so what kind of culture would I want to create? Learn a lot about that. But I think also the other thing that I took away is, and something that really is important for me, is the idea you can learn from anyone in life, I believe, and at work especially. And I think in those consulting environments, you often come in because there's a big problem, or government said we want to reform something, or something's broken. And that can lead you down the path of thinking that, if you're not there, it won't get fixed. And you can kind of start to think you've got the answers, or that, the department or the organization's a bit dysfunctional. And so I think learning to try to actually stay humble and to try and just approach everyone with an open mind and learn, you can learn something from anyone, was another lesson I took away, probably by making the mistakes of of being maybe a bit arrogant at times or something like that. But yeah, they were probably the two of the main bits from consulting days.
So you've worked with some pretty big companies in your past. What surprised you when you moved over into the disability sector?
Yeah, I think my initial feeling was that it was just this values connection with folks you work with and I was working with, and it felt like home in some ways, and it felt like I could be my full self. And that was a surprise because I think I'd been in a lot of work environments where you have to, it's dangerous to be truly authentic, I think, in a lot of work environments, unfortunately still. And so that was something that really surprised me. And the other thing I think was, in a lot of other work environments, there's this like, you got to have the right answer. You got to do we've got to find out what the right thing is to do. And that still applies in disability. But when you actually get close to support, it's a bit different. Like it's a different care and support. It's a different kind of work. It's not always about having the right answer or being the smartest person in the room. It's very different when you're supporting someone day to day, and the kind of skills that you need to be successful are very different. You need to, um, you just need to be a much better listener and open. And so I think that flows through into the organization. And I think understanding the diversity of skills that you need to be successful in this sector, it's not just enough to have, the right answer or, the computer says we should do this and go do it. You know what I mean? It's a
Yeah.
much more,
Better sense of purpose.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What was the biggest mindset shift moving from consultancy to operations in a NDIS business? Because sounds
Mm.
different very much.
Yeah. Look, I think it's around building a team and finding the right people to build a team with and the variety of different people you need in your team. And I've been really lucky at HireUp in these operational contexts to work with lots of different people. And I think there's a kind of interesting topic here also around neurodiversity and intersecting with that, but just people who approach topics and things that we're working on. Maybe it's a crisis, but someone who's just sitting there looking at it a little bit differently. And I think you need to find people like that, and you need to have them, bring them around you, and you need to think more about how your team is set up for the longer term and to cover across a lot of different scenarios. It's definitely something that I've learned about operating in the NDIS environment, because no day's the same. And so, yeah, and you want a diversity of minds, you want a diversity of views, you want that debate. What's the right thing to do here? All the different angles. Yeah.
Do you have a sports background? Because you bring up a lot about teamwork.
No, I mean, I do play hockey very badly on the weekend still, in a very
Grass
amateur sense.
or ice?
On grass, yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I've watched the ice hockey, but no grass. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel it's fun being part of a good team, I think. Yeah.
And it feels like it all connects and it makes you want to come into work.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
I've been in good teams, I've been in great teams, and I have been in bad ones. And it does make a difference.
Yeah.
And you're right, because there are some really quirky people that work in our sector, and thank God, because
100%.
because they can see a problem, and the way that they approach a problem was completely different to how I would see and how I would respond. And disability, there's no black and white. There's all these shades of gray in between of how to get to that problem and solve it.
Correct. The amount of times we've been sitting, an escalated situation or crisis, and the whole group is running. So, we got to get this, this is we need to move so quickly. And then somebody's just saying, hey, I've just looked at these two reports and something doesn't quite add up. I think we need to ask a few more questions here. Maybe we should go and pay the person a visit and get a bit deeper about. And then it turns out there's something we've completely missed, and we've got to go off in a different direction. It's kind of cool when you see those situations.
Well, you held multiple roles before becoming a CEO. How did each of the roles that you've had at HireUp help you step into your leadership style?
Yeah. I think each time I had a new leadership role, I had an opportunity to start again. And I also had the opportunity at HireUp to build a lot of teams and to start new areas of work. So I started in this, industry engagement, which was really about building our engagement with the sector, with support coordinators, plan managers, all sorts of groups around the sector, and building great relationships and partnerships. And then I went in and started our individualized living, ILO, we now call it HireUp Plus. That part of our service, our provider service, which connects our support workers with other providers and kind of to provide backup, almost agency style support. So each time I got to, be a new version of myself and to take some lessons from, the good things and the bad things from the previous role. And that's definitely something that I've tried a lot around getting the right team. A big part of my journey has been trying to give away more of my work to the people I'm working with, in a really positive way, not to try and, sit in my room and write out the answer and then come and give it to people. which no one likes for obvious reasons. But on a and the practical level, I think I was really lucky with my early roles to have a really broad engagement with the sector and to have time to just go and talk to lots of different people around our sector. And I think that there's so many different parts, even understanding the nuance of services that existed before the NDIS and might have been more volunteer run, and how the NDIS has changed that through kind of deep connections, relationships that people have built over time through to newer services in a way they're kind of innovating and meeting new needs. But I feel really lucky, especially with that industry engagement role that I had early on, just had an excuse to go and talk to everyone. And
Yeah, you look like you hate talking to people.
exactly. Yeah. And everyone's just got a story, and everybody's united with this passion and purpose around how we can do better, and how we can support people, whether it's their family member for them or someone that they know in their community. Yeah,
Would you
I
say
just find it so inspiring.
it sounds like you're an active listener? Was it mostly that you got to listen and see the problem and then act?
Yeah, I think so. I think definitely, and also trying to draw connections between different people's challenges. And I remember when we were exploring individualized living options and ILO, and that happened because someone in our client network approached us and said, "Hey, I've been living in the community with individualized living options for ILO funding. I need a new housemate. Do you think I could find someone on HireUp? Maybe there's a support worker on HireUp who'd be open to be my supportive housemate and do a little bit of support and also work as a support worker." So we started to just do some digging around, and there were lots of groups that were doing great work with people to work out how they wanted to live in the community, but then they didn't always have the infrastructure to actually go and make that support happen. You need the workforce, you need a kind of risk appetite, you need compliance, all that stuff. And so just realized there were all these different groups that had the same problem, and we could actually connect, and we could provide something in a part of the puzzle, which was the kind of the workforce and the systems to actually help people make that possible. So I think that was an important part of that too, was just connecting and joining the dots, or trying to at least.
It's a bit of fun, isn't it? When I'm like, you do
Yeah.
make a lot of mistakes because you're trying to get the combination
Made
right.
so many
But
mistakes.
when they connect and when it works, it's kind of special. And it's not until
Yeah.
like a little bit later, like, yeah, I was a part of that person's story, and they were able to live independently because
Yes.
I was able to find and connect them in ways that's quite special.
Yes. Yeah. That's right. And I think there are people who, I always felt especially, when you have people with disability who are really deeply connected in the community, I think there's just often a lot of people in support coordination type roles. Sometimes they're called support coordinators, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're actually support workers, sometimes they're parents or friends, but there are people who are really, and I think they're really some unsung heroes in our sector. Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
This is curious about this one because
Yeah.
you're the head of industry engagement. So I've got a story for you. So I worked with some guy for nearly 2 decades, and I said to him, "Hey, can you I'm surprised you're not following my content. We've known each other for a very long time." And he said to me that I wasn't John Cena enough to follow. So is there anything that you did that was in your engagement role to draw in NDIS and aged care participants to service? Because I find that would be, and a lot of people that I speak to, is one of the hardest things to do, to look for.
Yeah. I mean, it would be a huge question, right? I think our approach was to find, we tried lots of things. We tried lots of things. And our approach was generally to try and engage with groups or individuals that had trusted relationships with the people we were trying to reach. But it's hard to do at scale. We did partnerships with folks like Special Olympics, which I was really proud of. We did a great partnership with them where probably the highlight of that was that they would do state-based games and national games, and we paid for support workers to go and attend to support, which I think was a great way that you kind of, getting the brand out there, yes, getting the influence out there, but actually doing it in an authentic way by giving some folks support workers, but also showing that you're not just a faceless company, that there's actually this is why people come to HireUp ultimately for support workers, and support workers come because there's opportunity for work. So I think it was really about trying to find people who could influence and just making their life easier was another point. Was if we could make life easier for support coordinators, for example, then that would kind of help us in finding people to support. But yeah, constant challenge, but fun challenge,
Well, you guys have a
Didn't try
really
the John Cena.
beautiful story of how HireUp began. The founder story, I believe Shane
Yeah. Yep. Shane.
has,
Yep.
and then how it grew to where it is today. So it has really always had that beautiful foundation that it is built around one person, and it is expanded itself into the platform that it is today.
100%. And I think we all still tell Shane's story. And for folks who don't know, Shane was the brother of Jordan and Laura O'Reilly, who founded HireUp. Shane lived with cerebral palsy and he relied on support every day. He sadly passed away before HireUp kind of became what it was. But I think Jordan and Laura are still deeply involved in the business, and their mum as well. Saw her just this week in the background of Zoom. And yeah, there's different ways that we keep the spirit of why HireUp was founded alive, including a couple of years ago where Laura talks about she had a conversation with her mum about would Shane use HireUp today? And her mum said something really surprising, which was like, I don't think we would. Like, I think, it's too hard to manage, all this platform admin myself. I think I might have gone to a more traditional provider. And so that then sparked a whole bunch of work that we started to do to think about, well, how could we make the platform more accessible? How could we build additional services and support for people who had, you might have a team of 10 support workers as a client and going in every day and, approving shifts or trying to find a replacement backup when someone can't make it is really hard. So yeah, it's really something that's really at the heart of the organization and of our culture is that client focus.
Not many organizations have that. So what a way to honor somebody.
Yeah, it's a nice way to put it.
Really
Yeah,
special. It's very special, in fact.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's what I've gathered. And I think also because I'm a sector nerd, I love watching a story of why people open up businesses, why they do what they do and how they got there. And there's something just really special about HireUp in that story.
Yeah, it was so lucky. Yeah.
Now, at times in your career, you were a general manager at one point. I dare say you'd have to make some really tough decisions. Is there a tough decision that you're allowed to share with us that you've had to make at HireUp as a general manager?
Yeah, I think the tough decisions were really often around people. I think are the really hard decisions. We've been through at least one period where we had to reduce the number of staff that we had in our team at the HireUp support office. And that was a really hard moment. And, it's complicated because, in your role, you understand that you need to take certain decisions in order for the business to be sustainable and to move on and to keep going. But yeah, it doesn't lessen the impact when you're sitting down with an individual and trying to explain what's happening. So I think that they've been really the most challenging times, but you also learn a lot in that as an individual. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It's never fun. It's never fun to
No.
say goodbye, but I dare say you would have learned quite a bit. Did it
Yeah.
change or alter the way that you manage moving forward?
Yeah, I think it really helped. I can be a bit indirect, I think, sometimes with folks, and I do like talking, as you said. But I think it just helped me understand that sometimes the kindest thing to do is just to be really clear. And sometimes the thing that's making you be indirect is your own feelings or your own worry about how they're going to perceive you, and you just have to be clear and sometimes quite direct and not rude. Absolutely.
The way that you explain it. And some days I think to myself, I just got to be more of a support worker.
Yeah.
Yeah. How I communicate and how I do it and do it
Yeah.
in a way that another person can understand. It's all communication. I get it.
100%. It is all communication. That's totally right. And do you know what I think? What's awesome about what you just said there, Sarah, is like it's the consciousness of how you have to show up. I think half the time the battle is just, having that conversation with yourself. How am I supposed to show up here? Like half the time you're just on autopilot, whatever, just talking to
Yeah.
people, looking at your emails, whatever phone calls. Just even that ability to be like, how should I show up in this moment? I think is pretty awesome and great when you can achieve it.
At one point, I used to drive to work, and I spent, I reckon, 50 minutes on the way to work having all the battles and all the to's and froms of a conversation I'm about to have because it's quite a delicate one. And then at night time, I spend the whole thing going to briefing to myself
Yeah,
about, Sarah, why
yeah,
didn't you do this? Or
same
you
it.
could have
Yeah,
said that. Like, it's hard because you can put out information and how someone perceives it and takes it on board could be very different. And I
totally.
can guarantee there were a couple of times that I didn't see that as a result, even though I role played it in
Mm,
my head for the 15-minute drive. I didn't get it right. And that's just part of being human, I suppose.
yeah, that's right. Totally right. And I think, yeah, that's right. It's just part of being human.
Was there any moments when you're at HireUp in the beginning, like as a manager, a general manager, that you're like, okay, I could actually lead this whole thing one day? Like, booyah, go me, I've got this. Did you ever have it?
I can't think of one single moment, no. But what I would say is that through my time at HireUp, I've developed a really close relationship with Laura O'Reilly, especially one of the founders and the CEO just before me. And she's been a great mentor and support. And she pulled me aside at some point on the journey and said, we've been through a succession planning exercise, and I think you can do the job one day. And it was quite a long time before I took on the job. That was, and I think when she said it, I didn't think I could. So I wouldn't say that was the moment, but that was a that was a really wonderful thing that I experienced. I'm very, very thankful and grateful to her to do that. It was lovely.
I always think sometimes it's like little moments that add up.
Totally.
And then you're like, oh, actually, I could, because I say it'd be quite overwhelming for that because it's quite a big organization.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And there's
Yeah,
a
it
lot
is.
of responsibility for people.
It
And
is. Yes.
it's not just admin side of the platform. There's support workers, there are NDIS participants, there's our aged care participants, and then there's family support coordinators. That's a lot of people.
Totally. Yeah. Totally right. Yeah. And I have it's been one of the awesome privileges of taking on the CEO role. But there's lots of decisions to be made, lots of things to weigh up. By the time it gets to you, it's generally quite complicated,
Yeah.
So yeah, that's right. And it's a big scale now. It's like there's 14,000 support workers who did a shift of some sort last year, 12,000 clients. Yeah, it's really big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you protect the culture when you get promoted within?
Yeah. I think on the culture, I think it's a lot about the stories you tell and the things you celebrate. And I think promoting people from within can actually be really good culturally if you do it in the right way.
Well, you should know it back to front.
Yeah, exactly. At least you've seen it. And I think the nice thing about the promotion within, you've experienced it at different levels. Like I think I still, in my mind often just feel like I'm the person I was 6 years ago when I started, and just trying to work out the organization.
You're kind of like the trolley boy, and you've
Yeah,
worked your way.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. But I think it's really about this. Yeah, it's really about the stories and the way you talk about what good looks like and celebrate it. And we have nice rituals. We have all team meetings, and we always start with welcome to country, obviously, but then a community story. So a story from our community where someone in the team will talk about maybe it's a win they achieved with a client or worker or something new that we're doing, and just little rituals like that are really story-based, I think do a massive job in setting culture.
Because your team is spread across all of Australia, is it not?
It
It's
is,
not.
yeah.
I know Melbourne's your heart, but it's everywhere else in between.
Yeah, well, I'm in Melbourne, but I would actually say probably Sydney. Sydney's probably the heart of HireUp, but there's so we've got folks in Brisbane and Tassie, Adelaide, Perth, all over Australia at this point.
How do you source these people? How do you find them? Is it like a normal hiring way where you'd put it out to the market, or do you find people you think, I think you'd fit well at HireUp?
Yeah, look, a bit of both, and it depends a bit on the role, because our organisation, we've got, it's half of it is a is a tech company with software engineers and designers and product managers and data scientists, you know, talking about AI. And then half of it is a disability provider with operational staff, quality practice teams, trust and safety, relationship management, worker recruitment. So it's quite an interesting organization in kind of making all that suit or all that work. But just so different people we find in different places. But we do, one thing I'm really proud of is we do have a decent flow of people who come from our support worker workforce into our team and then into various roles. And there are people who have moved from our support worker workforce into lots of different roles. And I think, including ones that are a long way away from support work and some that are still close to it. And that's also an awesome source of recruitment for us because, the amount of people said, oh yeah, I was a HireUp support worker and I was just looking at the job ads on the HireUp website and I saw this one and I applied for it. And then how can you argue with that hands-on experience? It's awesome.
I get a lot of uni students coming through as well on
Yeah,
placement, and then being able to feel how it was to be a support worker and then work in the business and see the backgrounds and they
yeah,
knowing it the best.
yeah. That's awesome. And also allied health students who'll come in and work as support workers and then go on into the allied health field and be OTs and psychs, and I think that's
That's
awesome
our
too.
duty, isn't it? As
Yeah,
sorry, our duty in the disability sector, if they're coming in as allied health and we're showing them and supporting them how to best practice to work with somebody with a disability. So when they've got those skills and they take them off and do their careers and be the
totally,
OTs and speeches of the world, they've already got it. They've had that hands-on
totally.
experience. Yep, I do see that as our job and responsibility that we're sending people into these professions knowing how to communicate.
Yeah, great. And I'm glad you said that, communicate, because at one point we got quite interested in this space and, I was talking about partnerships and meeting and in previous roles at HireUp, and we were meeting with lots of allied health partners and talking to lots of ex-HireUp support workers who'd gone on to work in allied health. And communication was always the point that they brought up as what they took away from their support work time, be able to communicate with individuals, but also their families. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really important.
I feel like a duty.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not just that, but you also receive, I believe, as a support worker, really cool life skills that you can use across every area of your life that you didn't even know that like you needed. But being a support worker has got me out of some very tricky conversations, or how to explain something and break down an activity for someone. If I had not have had that experience as a support worker, I would not have those skills today.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Parenting skills. Yeah. It's really helpful.
Learn how to use dishwasher, a dryer, a washing machine,
Yeah.
working in
Yeah.
people's houses, but also how to communicate really sticky situations. So, yeah, I could probably work at the UN. I'd probably sort
Sure.
out a few domestic problems in war. Well, it's
That's
really
right.
good skills. So, when you officially stepped in as the role of CEO, what felt heavier than you expected?
Yeah. I think, yeah, there was mm, there was definitely a feeling of, okay, you're actually responsible
A lot of
for
people.
all these people. Yeah. There's definitely a feeling of that. And like, that's true, but it's also not true. Like, like you can kind of overemphasize, I think, the reliance on yourself. And that's a bit of a trap. And,
Yeah.
that's a bit of a trap. But you do have that sense of responsibility. I think also, in the NDIS world, there are, like the kind of the compliance responsibilities that we have, the data and privacy, cyber, keeping the organization safe, keeping our clients and workers safe. They're some of the things that you start to think, oh, actually, like if I'm not directing attention towards that through other people, then you have the potential to actually cause harm. So I think there's some of the things that you do think about, which is appropriate, honestly. But yeah, that you kind of realize, oh, if it's not me, then who's it going to be? Like
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to do the work myself. But if I'm not thinking about this, or if I'm a bit lax, then yeah,
I think
there's no one else who's
sometimes
going to be
support
okay.
workers sometimes miss the part that with HireUp, you actually do a lot of training of your support
We do,
workers
yeah, yeah,
on the platform to ensure that the person that turns up is the best fit for them. I think sometimes we forget that part. So it's not like
I
a
know.
set and forget. They do have to meet your their standards of
Yeah,
higher up
totally.
EA support worker. So it's not just anybody gets in.
That's right. And I think that's, with at Heart, we've always tried to walk the line between choice and control for clients and workers. So clients get to choose who they work with and workers get to choose who they work with too, which is actually like, we talk a lot about choice and control of clients rightly, but it's also the worker side. I think it's really critical. And so we try to walk the line of that and the kind of freedom that creates and just the autonomy. And we think that's really, really important, but also with the kind of safety and compliance. So we've always been registered and we've always employed our workers. And it's a really nice tension to, sit with. But for us, it's about trying to do the right thing and be the best version of a
Yep.
provider that meets the kind of principles of the scheme. Yeah.
But you guys are quite reactive very quickly because well, Peter, I
Oi.
had used HireUp at a organization when I was stuck on support staff and I needed
Nice.
somebody to jump in, and because sometimes it was very last minute if I could, get somebody to provide care for a certain person. I take it you guys have got a really quick reaction or on call or something happens, because I remember a incident occurred and you guys were just like on it. I was like, I think
Yeah.
you nearly beat me to the punch, and I'm pretty fast.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. No, look, yeah, we've got, yeah, no, I think, I read once on a grassroots post, someone said, HireUp, they've got a website and 5 staff members. And I was like, oh, yeah, I kind of died a bit inside. I'm like, no, there's about 300 folks in our support office who, as you say, are doing maybe whether it's incident response or, if a worker cancels and the client reaches out and trying to find someone new. Yeah. So definitely that's a big part of what we just see. We just need to keep trying to be more responsive and quicker and meeting people's needs. And
It was quick. I will give you that. And I think one part was a little bit annoyed because I thought I was quick.
yeah, I'm sure you are very quick, Sarah. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I like small problems, not big ones, and I don't give them an opportunity to grow.
Yes, that's good. It's a good mentality. Yeah.
Yeah. Now with HireUp, you guys are going through, I think is it July 1st that you guys have got the platform changes under the
Correct.
NDIS. I'm going to assume that it's there like every other provider, but you're not that worried because you knew it's coming. There's no surprises here.
No, that's right. And I think it's an interesting one because we've actually been registered for a while, really since we started, and also registered in kind of behavior support, registered in high intensity areas. So we are in favor of the platform changes and we think it's good. But it definitely keeps adding new things for us to think about. And your point about the training, I think, is a big part of how we make that more adaptive around the actual individual. There's lots of, if you look at a behavior support plan, it's 40 pages, incredibly dense. How do we actually make that more accessible for someone? There's lots of interesting opportunities for AI. So I think registration kind of helps push us into this space. So we're quite supportive of it in the platform field, and it'll be interesting to see. I saw the Minister Butler talked about mandatory registration for all providers, and it'll be interesting to see
Okay,
what happens in
good.
that space.
Go
Yeah.
for it. I'm okay with it, to be honest. The fact that it wasn't set and that people aren't audited or
Yeah.
have high expectations or a benchmark, it scares me more out of
Yeah.
anything, to be fair. If I had a crystal ball with all the changes that is occurring, with people having to do registration and having tiers, do you expect that you might end up with more support workers this way because providers are choosing not to register, or it might just becoming a little bit too hard for some people, and HireUp
Yeah.
does give support workers flexibilities of the days that they work.
Yeah, possibly. I think so. And I think that's a question for us to work on, is how could HireUp be a great spot for people to come to? I mean, at any point in time, for workers to come to, we think that's really, really important, that we're a really attractive option for workers. And doing lots of work on that. And would love feedback from anyone listening or watching for ways we can make it better. Please get in touch. But yes, certainly in the case if there's disruption to the market, that's definitely possible. And I think what we're just trying to prove is that you can be registered, but also have the choice and flexibility. And it's not like a black and white. Unregistered providers means choice and flexibility. Registered providers means everything's locked down, policy driven, no choice. No, yeah, I think we're trying to prove that there's an option in the middle, and with others also in that space.
But you also got the option for participants because they can come to you as a kid and see a whole life approach way beyond their 60s, 70s, and 80s because you do have the aged care part.
100%.
Was it always the approach of HireUp to look at it as a full life approach, or was this something that came a little bit longer?
It actually came, it wasn't always the approach. And I think we had a lot of really interesting conversations about aged care early doors. And I think there was, we wanted to be respectful of the fact that just because people with disability and older Australians need support doesn't mean that they're just like one clump of people, like there's actually like lots of different needs and people in different stages of life need different things. But Laura and Jordan had an interesting experience a couple of years ago where their grandfather, Frank, actually got to the point where he needed support and they said, well, you should just jump on HireUp. And that experience of seeing how well HireUp worked for their grandfather, I guess, was a bit of a proof point for like, hey, we should actually go after this and there's something we can do here. But again, it was kind of following that personal story and...
Yep. Well, they know a few.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Shouldn't be too hard to source, hey?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But yeah, that's been going quite well. That's been going quite well for us. And it's also, I think, helps with the mix of work for our workforce. Also the work with other providers. I think a lot of our workers really appreciate the opportunity to maybe go and work as part of a team, or you get like a really long shift, often like an 8-hour shift or something.
Well, it's like a taste tester, isn't it? Because I can have a test, like taste what it feels like to work in groups. I can feel what it works like in somebody's home, in a SEAL home, in community. I have an opportunity. No day is ever going to be the same. It's where the work is and whether I'm the perfect match for that person or group.
Really right.
Imagine all the upskilling you could have because you had all these opportunity to work with so many, like a variety of different people from all age groups and disabilities.
Totally right. Yep. Yeah. I think it's it's a really good experience. Our challenge is how do you guarantee people consistency alongside all the opportunities to work? But I think our support workers tell us that's great, and it's great if it's well paid, but how can we get some consistency? And that's something that we're always working on and thinking about ways to kind of get people the work they want.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because when we're talking about consistency, it's about who, as a participant, has actual hours that need support and does it align with this person? Because you could be a perfect match, but if you're at uni or if you're working your other job or your family life in between, you might not match. So support workers, we do have to be quite flexible to get those hours.
Yep, that's right. And it's humans and life and complicated,
Yep.
Lots of our workers, like all workers, have other caring responsibilities for themselves, their own kids, or there's lots to juggle.
Some of them amaze me, I will say. Like I remember one support worker that I had like 6 kids, but somehow always turned up on time. Like and felt like just ready, and wanting to be a part of it. So there's some really amazing support workers out there. And I know you have some amazing support workers out there because I've seen them firsthand.
Yeah, totally right. Yep. Yeah, I agree. I completely agree.
So how do you stay connected with support workers, being not in their homes and with them?
Yeah, well, I've done support work through the HireUp platform, which is nice. I think a really
but not like
great
an undercover boss segment, like
something like that.
Yeah, turn up with a wig.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But that's awesome because it's just rewarding. I always find it rewarding to do that and spend time with people, but it also gives you first-hand experience of your own service and product, and you pretty quickly get a handle on what's working, what's not. But then this is something that we talk about lots as a team, and whether it's listening to phone calls that are happening between our community and our team, going out and visiting providers that we're providing workers to. On Monday this week, I was in Adelaide and I spent the day in Adelaide and we were chatting to a bunch of the providers that we work with in Adelaide and but I think, it's so critical. It's an awesome question. It's so critical because it's really easy to lose touch and dynamics can shift and change. 5, 6 years ago, maybe 7 years ago, there weren't as many people support workers working through ABNs. And that's really changed. And that's okay. That's a completely different dynamic. I understand what's happening there and why. So yeah, you really need to stay in touch. So it's hard and you got to work on it and get out of the office because you can just sit and do emails and meetings and yeah.
You've got a really good point. If you're a new provider, you can actually source your whole team from HireUp.
You can. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can.
You can source
Yeah,
all the support workers and line it up that way to start.
yeah.
A lot of providers, they start very narrow and the pool of support workers that they've got takes a lot to get there and the cost to onboard them as well
Totally,
and
totally.
oversee them to ensure that they are doing what they said they were going to do.
Totally right. And we have providers that use us in all different ways. It's not the bulk of our business, but I think it's definitely an area that I'm very excited about doing more because I think there's ways we can share our workforce. And we see providers who maybe they want to go to a new state. So they've got a great home base in New South Wales, but they want to go to Queensland. And so they'll actually use HireUp support workers to staff their operations in Queensland for 3 months. And then they might actually offer permanent employment to those HireUp support workers in their service. So that's something that we kind of encourage and work with providers on because if the workers want that, then great, and we shouldn't stand in the way. Yeah. Yeah.
It is a good opportunity. And I think sometimes we don't always see that as the opportunity, especially for new providers. So that's cool to hear. How would your team describe your leadership style?
Good question. Definitely we have a good, authentic culture. There would definitely be some jokes about my bad jokes or ugly
You got
slides.
bad jokes?
Yeah, bad jokes and ugly slides. I think that's strategic and authentic, I think. Maybe 2 words.
You might find out on Monday morning
That's right. Correct.
after this podcast.
Exactly. Yes. I'm sure I'll get some feedback. Yes.
On feedback, how do you handle criticism, especially in this sector? And it can be quite emotionally charged.
Yeah. I think someone is cliche, but someone said to me, feedback's a gift, and I try to center on that, I think, in those moments. And also you can learn from anyone. Feedback is a gift. So try to come back to that. And also sometimes there's really challenging situations that our clients, our support workers, our staff are in. And sometimes your job is actually just to listen. And even when someone's sometimes very upset, your job is actually just to be the person that they can express those feelings to. And that's just your kind of job in the moment. Your job is not to try and fix anything or it's not to be defensive, just to listen. And sometimes that's hard to get your head around because, if you're in a highly heightened moment, you want to react or you want to defend yourself or your staff. But I think, sometimes your job is actually just to listen, and that can be the way forward. Just to keep showing up, prepared to listen. Yeah.
With that criticism coming from our NDIS aged care participants, is there a way that they're able to deliver feedback to you guys that sits in their communication style?
Yeah, so we try to be really accessible and have no wrong door for complaints or concerns or feedback. And depending on what happens, sometimes people bring stuff to my attention and I'll get involved, other people on the team. Yeah, we take it really seriously. I think we have a value at HireUp. We've got various values at HireUp of corporate values. But one value that we have that we really cherish is we call it the person is the point. And the kind of idea is that as you get bigger and you get bigger as an organization, there's this tendency to prioritize the organization's needs or protecting the organization or protecting the institution over the needs of the people that you're working with. And so the person is the point. The idea is actually HireUp exists to support individuals, clients, old Australians, people with disability and support workers. It doesn't exist to be an institution, So I think that we try and take that approach to these situations, and that means really listening to people, trying to be really flexible, understanding how we can learn and improve. Because at the end of the day, that's the point. It's not to kind of protect HireUp or push people
Yeah.
away because we want to shut something down.
It'd be quite hard and difficult to at times express these type of values with people that have never had a disability background, and
Yeah.
especially the variety of workforce that you have. Is this ongoing in your offices for
Yeah, it's such a great point, Sam. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is an ongoing something that we think about. I don't think we've necessarily got it right. We do
I don't think we
really
ever
do.
get it right, but we try.
No, yeah. We try and emphasize the values in different ways. We have different kind of rituals and forums to promote them and to build understanding of them. But it's hard, and things change over time, and things drift, and cultures are created. So yeah, it's a constant battle. And I think, when everybody in the organization fit in a small conference room, it was very different from when everyone's spread out all over the country.
Yeah. It's not an easy thing to do, and I feel like a lot of organizations in our sector battle this same problem because it grew and it blew up really quickly
Yeah,
under the NDIS, where prior it was a different set of rules
yeah,
and it was different expectations. And I
totally
can
right.
slowly see the changes going back that way, especially with the involvement of more community settings.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
could read
Or
between
even
the
with
lines. I feel like it's like a reset and going back a little.
yeah, or even SIL, it looked like the government was talking about maybe, creating a panel of providers for SIL or directly commissioning SIL. I think we still got it. It's not an area that HireUp's involved, but I think was pretty interested to see that because that felt, like quite a change from where we are.
Yep, 100%. And because I get quite a lot of support workers listen to the podcast, if they're a higher up support worker of yours, do you give them any advice if they would wish to climb the higher up ladder? Any career advice for them?
Yeah, yeah, it's a great question. I think we have a role that is a really nice stepping stone from being a support worker on HireUp to moving into the support office team. That role is called a support team lead. So it's like a lead worker in a client's team, and they're local to the client. They're a member of the support office team, but they also do support in the roster. They help organize the roster. It's like a house manager, but not for a SIL setting. So we call it a support team lead. We didn't really create the concept. We just stole it from house managers and modified it to a non-SIL setting. I think check out the careers page on HireUp and just look out for those support team lead opportunities. I mean, look out for all opportunities, but I think that's a really nice stepping stone where you get into a situation where you're taking on more admin responsibility, coaching, rostering, but you also get integrated to the HireUp team. And then I've seen people do that for a little bit of time and then move into other roles, more relationship management roles or business development roles. So yeah, I think we try to create a bit of a ladder that way. And I'd love for us to promote that more because I actually think it's an awesome part of what we do. We've got about 50 people working in those roles right now all around Australia. But yeah, I'd love to have heaps more. Yeah, they've got to be the right match with the client. But yeah, it's a cool part of our business, and I think is especially attractive. But just seeing lots of support workers just come into that and do really well, and then
Should
move
they
into new roles.
tell you guys that they're interested or keen of opportunities in the
Definitely,
future?
definitely,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely reach out. Yeah, just give us a call and let us know. Yeah, that'd be a great way to get in touch.
So what's coming up for HireUp in the next 12 to 24 months that we should watch with excitement, I dare say?
Yeah. Look, I think, Sarah, two things for us. One is that we have lots of plans to keep improving the worker proposition. So training, wages, including wage progression with experience, lots of work around how we connect people through the platform. But for us, getting better and better for our workers is a huge priority. And, engaging people to stay for as long as they want on HireUp, I think is really exciting, is really important to us. So yeah, lots of worker focused stuff, mentoring, community connection is a big part for it. How do we create connection across our workforce? People are working one-to-one, but everybody's confronting similar problems and challenges and they want to connect. So how do we do that? We've got some exciting plans in that area. We're also doing more and more with other service providers and supporting them. And I think it'll be interesting to see how some of the changes play out with the NDIS. But what we're certainly seeing is that other service providers are wanting to be more creative with their own workforces and thinking about ways that they can plug into HireUp, but also, even use HireUp to do parts of their service. So I think that that's one where there's a bit of thinking for us to do to modify our technology to work really well in those environments. Again, it should support our workforce, but yeah, it's kind of in the partnership area, and I'm very excited about some of those conversations. And it also is in aged care as well as disability.
Are you doing anything cute in AI? Oh, I talk about it.
Lots happening with AI.
So we're going to send robots next week. No.
Send robots. The thing that I saw recently on AI, and I don't know, it'd be interesting to get your take on it and also your audience. Doctors have got these scribe apps where they're sitting on their laptops and scribing the visit, and then it writes up the notes. And I saw a kind of like, the Instagram influencers mic type thing that you can clip onto your shirt as you go about your day as a doctor or allied health therapist. And I wondered if we'll see that one day for support workers, basically scribing. Now there's all sorts of consent and privacy, but you could think about, the, coaching opportunities from AI, having a transcript of your support shift together and then say, hey, listen, Sarah or Peter, when you said this, you could have explained it in this way, or, maybe you could have more actively involved the person you work. So we haven't rolled any of that out yet, and I'm kind of just thinking about that. But I think some of those things could be quite interesting in our space.
Yeah. So while we're here, it's really important to do your journals, your notes, your progression notes. Yep. But also, you're not going to get into trouble for the depth that you go to. I'd say a lot of them are using ChatGPT or Claude to build up their notes to say what they did today, because communication and making sure that they've expressed what they've done on shift. But, it's not being an idiot with AI too, not putting personal details and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's really
Making it
important.
very
Personal
generic.
Yeah.
Yep. Don't do that. Anyone listening, please do not put addresses or phone numbers or their client details into it.
Yes, don't do that. But also, I reckon I would also be really interested to hear from people if they can see ways that we could use AI. Because one of the things I think we can do at HireUp is to build the safety around it so that it can be used safely, and it can save time and can help people focus on what they actually love doing, the support parts. Yeah, very interesting. It's a exploration topic for us, and there's all sorts of ways we're using it internally as well. But yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell us that's coming, or we're gonna keep it top secret?
I think we're just to keep trying to improve the quality of what we do. I think that's with a lot of uncertainty around what's happening in the NDIS and where that's all heading. I think it's really important for us, and what I talk to the team about is just trying to improve the quality of what we do and be better, because we don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. But yeah, it's kind of one of those like control what you can control type.
Yep.
Yeah, that's definitely something we're thinking about.
So the cool thing about this is that if anyone's looking at HireUp as a opportunity for work, opportunity to find a support worker, to network with you guys at a provider level, the best way to contact you guys, I guess, will be through the website.
Yep. hello@hireup.com.au is also our email address, so that goes to a team. We'll ping it out to the right area, and kind of whatever you're looking for, that's a good starting point. And I'm on LinkedIn as well, so if folks want to get in touch with me directly, you can
Just slide into your inbox like I did.
Yep, always open to that. Nothing wrong with that.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast tonight.
Thanks, Sarah. Thank you.
Until next time.
Cheers. Bye.
Cheers.